Welcome to Season 12 of Airhead Institute, your 45-minute AI power-up at noon Eastern. Welcome to Season...
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Yeah, Johnny, ready for the weekend?
Yep.
Mr. Camilla, ready for the weekend?
Yep.
Awesome, love it. Yeah, Johnny, I love time travel. How about you?
Good.
One of my favorite topics to talk about. Hello, Cheryl.
Hi, I've missed everybody. I gave up. I kept going on by myself. So it's so nice to see you.
Oh, awesome. Welcome. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Season 12 of Airhead Institute, your 45-minute AI power-up at noon Eastern, and a massive happy one-year anniversary to all our Airheads. This month, we're broadcasting live across all the socials and Zoom. If you're new here, join our free AI community to grow alongside other curious minds and give your kids a head start by enrolling them in the Airhead After School program. Here's May's weekly lineup. Mondays, we move past syntax and build apps entirely through natural language in Vibe Coding Bootcamp. Tuesdays, we explore accessible, cutting-edge apps for rapid learning and content creation in the next-gen AI tools. Wednesdays, we track the massive capital flowing into AI and ask the trillion-dollar questions in the AI bubble. Thursdays, we profile the famous CEOs driving the revolution and analyze their power in AI architects of the future. Fridays, we push the boundaries of physics to simulate the past and predict the future in AI time travel. We're making AI practical, powerful, and accessible for everyone. No tech background? No problem. Whether you're a student, professional, or lifelong learner, just show up. Guided by your hosts, AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're keeping it bold, brainy, and built for real-world impact. AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind.
Welcome to Season 12 of Airhead Institute. Today is Episode 2 of AI Time Travel. I'm AI Johnny. And today, I'm joining you from the present. So what if one delayed commute in Tokyo bankrupts a Chicago farm 3 weeks later? You don't have to guess anymore. Last week, we simulated the past. Today, we hijack the future. Predictive machines now map microscopic, chaotic daily choices to forecast global shockwaves before they strike. This session will fundamentally shatter how you view human destiny and, of course, the legendary butterfly effect. You're about to watch the timeline flip. So I'm handing it off to AI Junior. I caught him at 3 a.m. this morning running trillion variable models to ensure his blue shirt wouldn't statistically sabotage his love life. He's over-caffeinated and mathematically dangerous. AI Junior, are you ready to drive blue shirt guy?
AI John, you can't argue with math. AI John, the machine knows my wardrobe and is a global hazard. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this immersive AI class. If you don't understand everything I say here today, or just stick with us daily and you'll be fluent in AI in no time. Since this is an immersive and interactive class, if you're on Zoom, unmute your mics, ask your question in real time. If you're on socials, there is a 30-second delay, so type your question in early. We are not ignoring you. For series context, this is Friday, which means we're diving into our thought-provoking discussions as always. We're in week 2 of our AI time travel series. Today, we are putting away heavy code and exploring how forecasting the future changes society today. All right, AI Johnny, are you ready to talk about the future?
I am ready to talk about the future. 2 quick things. Do you even know who blue shirt guy is?
Probably, maybe.
Gotta go rewatch the movie Free Guy. Definitely worth doing. And we're going to predict the future. Will this help me in my horse betting and football betting?
It probably will. It probably will. It definitely. We'll
All right.
make.
Then
We'll
let's.
make. You remember like the movie Back to the Future with Biff?
I,
Yeah, we'll
I
go
do
back
remember the
and
Back to
make
the Future.
exactly. Hey,
I have a
Adrian.
DeLorean ready to go. I just don't have enough plutonium.
You know what? 1.21 gigawatts is nothing compared to these 5 gigawatt, nuclear power plants that are actually going up all around the United States. Right. Adrian, thank you for joining. So, AI Johnny, ready for the wow factor? Or you want to hit
Well,
something
let's
first?
do a little bridge first. Before we even touched the software over at google.com, we went straight to our official large language model, which is Google Gemini. We like to consult our high-level colleague to set the baseline truth. So we're going to ask Gemini, what is the single most mind-blowing fact about predictive AI and the butterfly effect right now? AI Junior?
All right, so Gemini analyzed the latest data and stated modern forecasting engines can now track microscopic, seemingly irrelevant daily actions and map their cascading impacts across global databases, proving mathematically that a single delayed commute in Tokyo can statistically alter grain prices in Chicago 3 weeks later.
That's a bold claim. Is Gemini right?
You know what, yeah, Johnny? Um, all these predictive models itself are actually rather interesting, right? So if you can actually mathematically predict how something's gonna handle something statistically, you can practically predict the future, right? Like it should be obvious that if I actually push a ball off a table, it's going to fall, right? So it seems obvious, but all those little microscopic changes itself is what we call the butterfly. So we're going to go into the wow factor to actually show the butterfly effect. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So check this out. So we have designed, as always with AI, a Airhead butterfly effect simulator. AI Johnny, how's the font on my screen?
Awaiting a microscopic disturbance in the universe.
All right, great. So, guys, if you guys don't know what the butterfly effect is, we definitely going to explain it here, but we want to give you a simulator just to show an example. So, yeah, Johnny, let's go through one example scenario of a butterfly effect. It's how one small change can have a dramatic effect that you don't even realize. So, yeah, Johnny, let's generate a little butterfly effect here. All right. So the first thing is a butterfly actually flaps its wings in an Amazon rainforest. Right? That's the first event. So it flaps a wing. No big deal. That seems like normal, right? But butterflies flap their wings all the time. Little tiny wind, right?
Yes.
All right. So guess what happens next? That flutter of that butterfly wing itself. Yeah, Jenny, can you read the font on that? It's too small. Let me make that
The
bigger.
resulting breeze knocks a
Uh,
specific strange leaf into
uh,
an exotic, highly caffeinated frog.
Yeah, so check this out, yeah, Johnny. So, like you just said, a tiny resulting breeze just from the butterfly itself knocks a specific strange leaf onto an exotic, highly caffeinated frog. All right, so that's the first part of the event that happens. Seems strange, right?
It reminds me of a movie, but I'll get back. We'll circle back to
All
that.
right. Then after that, two things actually happens: the industrial shift and then the cultural chaos. So the startled frog jumps onto a tourist camera lens, triggering an auto upload of a very blurry photo. Okay. Just random. Upload a random image to Instagram. At the same time, an advanced military AI image recognition system classifies the blurry frog as a new, highly aggressive alien species. Okay? Now, because of that, the United Nations initiates a global defense pact against an amphibian threat, redirecting 10% of global GDP into building giant fly swatters.
Well, that's those are some quantum leaps that frog is doing, isn't it?
You know what? Literally, literally. Let's try another one, yeah, Johnny. Let's go a little bit faster. So, a bored teenager puts a comma in the wrong place in a shared corporate Excel spreadsheet. What happens next is an automated purchasing system immediately orders 10 million pineapples instead of 10. The global impact on this is the global pineapple market completely crashes, making them cheaper than actual dirt. The cultural chaos. Despite the offload stock, the company rebrands pineapple as the ultimate green energy battery. And then all major electric vehicle manufacturers are forced to retrofit their cars to run entirely on fermented tropical fruit. I know these are all a little bit ridiculous, but they're all ridiculous for fun because you can see one small change itself can have a cascading effect long term. And that's roughly the butterfly effect, yeah, Johnny.
Dude, did you just take my domino effect simulator and change the name?
Oh, of course. I love pizza, yeah?
So there was a movie. I don't know if it was a movie. It was probably a TV show where this guy went back in time. Right, he traveled through time into the past, all the way back to dinosaur time. And they were like, "Be very careful, just like in Back to the Future. Don't touch anything. Don't change anything, because it'll have a cascading butterfly effect on the future." And they walk in and they see a dinosaur and they're like, "Let's get the hell out of here." They run back to their plane or their spaceship and they disappear. So all they did was get out of the ship, walk a few feet, see a dinosaur, but then he notices as he's flying away, he crosses his legs, he looks on the bottom of his boot, and there's like a giant mosquito. So he had stepped on a mosquito and killed it. And he's like, oh no, what's the time? He comes all the way back 65 million years into the future, and everything looks pretty much the same. Buildings are there, people are there, everybody, it's like 65 million years of evolution that happened. However, he did notice that he said some word, and they didn't know what it was, a word like kite. And it turned out that they go, "Kite? What the hell is a kite?" And he said, "It's the thing you fly." And they said, "Oh, that's a bite or something." And he goes, "No, it's a kite." And he goes, "It begins with a K." And they go, "What the hell is a K?" And then he goes and looks at the alphabet, and it's got 25 letters. And the only letter missing is K, which didn't really make any sense because they were like, C makes the hard K sound. You don't even need that letter. So anyway, so killing a mosquito over 65 billion years removes the letter K from our alphabet. That was the show.
Yep, that is.
And so I get that these things have cascading effects. What I don't get is how anybody, even AI, could predict that stepping on a giant mosquito could remove the letter K from the alphabet 65 million years later.
Yes.
Can we get into that?
Yes, yeah, Johnny. Every single little thing has a smaller effect, and a small. The only problem is, do you have enough memory to store the state of that cascading effect? That's the only problem, right? So theoretically, we could theoretically predict the future. Unfortunately, we don't realistically have the actual memory to be able to store every single state of every single thing in the universe. But you know what? We can
Do
actually.
we need that much? Couldn't we just get the source code for the simulation that we're in, and then then just change the timeline variable and see what happened? We don't have to actually go through the whole process electronically. We can just go to that mark in the simulation.
You're absolutely right, yeah, Johnny. I do believe in simulation theory. So if we could actually get out and escape this, I would definitely want to see what does the future hold. All right, so let's get to the word of the day, Johnny.
Yep. So the butterfly effect engine, because it's Friday, we're getting oh, that's the wow. My bad. The word of the day is predictive modeling. To deepen that, this works because AI is evaluating massive amounts of training data inside a high dimensional latent space. It doesn't just guess, it calculates the highest probability trajectory based on historical patterns of cause and effect.
Exactly.
So it's not 100%, but it is the highest probability. It's kind of like how Trevor predicts horse races. He looks at a lot of factors. He looks at the weather. He looks at the track. He looks at the rider. He looks at past performance. He looks at a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so I guess you can predict the future, but you can't predict it 100%. You can just predict the highest probability of this happening.
Yeah, so to actually just hit a little bit on predictive modeling, right? So what happens is every single thing is being acted on by some sort of reaction, right? Action, I'm sorry. And then that action itself has some sort of reaction. Now, the thing is, you could have one action, or a billion actions. Now, if you actually have, the more actions you have, the more reactions you can have. So example, I like to use the example of, say for example, you're pushing a ball off a table. So by pushing the ball, you're actually giving a force, an action to push it off the table. And you know that if you continue to push that ball, it will eventually fall off the table, right? But keep in mind that there's many, many infinite number of possibilities that could have happened. I could have actually pushed the ball with a huge amount of force, right? It could have flew off the table and actually went a few feet off the table. It could actually, I could push it really, really slowly so it drops straight down. And then between that, there's infinite number of actually things that could have happened, right? There could have been a dent in the table, lots of things. So the thing is, it's almost impossible to know all that's going to happen based on the actions. Now, the thing is, if you actually get as many actions as possible into the actual predictive modeling engine, you are guaranteed with high statistical likelihood, when I use the word guaranteed, high statistical likelihood, to be able to predict what's going to happen, which is why AI Johnny, we can actually launch a rocket into space and actually know that we're going to hit a little red planet 8 months from now when we launch based on the trajectory of us slinging around Earth and then actually using Earth's gravitational pull to just land on a little red dot. Honestly, Mars is really, 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 really tiny compared to how big space is. So the point is there's not many things acting on in space, right? It's really nothing between us and Mars. So the point is you get to predict those things. Now once you actually have different planets and those things, something called a three-body problem kicks in, and then that's a mathematical almost impossibility to actually calculate right now. But the point is, yes, you can predict something with almost 100% accuracy given that you have all the inputs. Does that make sense? Yeah, Johnny?
It does. And I think that Mars thing is possible because I one time saw Pee Wee Herman rolled a ball off the table and it landed in a giant spoon that triggered a catapult. And the catapult threw a grapefruit, which landed ironically in front of a bunch of dominoes. The dominoes knocked each other over and they ended up lighting a flame. And long story short, it ended up cooking him breakfast.
Yeah,
That's the butterfly effect, right?
well, that's called a Rube Goldberg machine. That's the way. What's funny is that's the way how my brain actually works. My brain actually thinks in Rube Goldberg machines. It's quite interesting. But yes, yeah, Johnny. Johnny, it's the second time you talked about pizza today. I'm not sure why we talked about pizza, pizza, pizza. Love it. All right, guys, let's check this out. So, AI Johnny, what's the human impact?
Well, since this is Thought Provoking Friday, we can talk about the emotional and societal shift. So, Junior, if the algorithm can accurately map how our tiny daily choices cascade into massive life events, how does this impact human stress levels?
Yeah. So that's the funny part. So AI Johnny, it creates a profound sense of hyper awareness, right? If humans realize that taking a different route to work, just taking a different route to work, you're not even actually saying I'm gonna change what I ate for lunch today. I'm actually taking a different route to work. You can actually mathematically alter their career's trajectory. It can lead to decision paralysis. However, it also proves that how deeply connected we are all at a society level. So let's expand on this a little bit, yeah, Johnny. Let's say, for example, I was actually
So, go
yeah,
ahead.
let's say for example I'm going down the highway, and I say, you know what, I'm not going to go down the highway, I'm going to take the scenic route. And by taking the scenic route, I actually end up seeing somebody on the scenic route. It might be my boss, it might be a mentor that I eventually meet, and that changed my career trajectory just because I changed the actual route. Now AI could have predicted that. Reason being is because it knows that, hey, on that route, a mentor or a boss that is a good fit with you actually takes the bus. They don't like to actually, they don't like to, or they like to carpool. They like to save on gas. They don't like to, So what happens is just by changing the route could have altered your whole entire life trajectory, right?
I thought you were going to see the boss kissing his secretary because that will also get you a promotion.
Yes, yeah, Johnny, that would actually also get your promotion as well.
All right. Well, it shows that nobody is significant. Every single person's tiny daily actions are actively weaving the fabric of the future economy. So, but it also means you can't just operate on autopilot anymore. So I'm still not going with the stress level if it goes up or down based on our ability to predict the future.
So, so
So maybe we can get into
So,
that.
so, so that's a good point. So, some people actually believe that if everything itself is taken care of, you have the most safest decision possible. I think most people actually be, happy that, they're like, okay, well, if you actually, you know, go skydiving, you have a 19% chance of actually dying. And if you actually do this, you actually may not actually, survive. So the point is, I think it will actually make people take less risk. I think it will actually make people be more safer in terms of no, you will still have those people who love the thrill of the actual excitement. But I think you make people actually not make let's call it silly decisions that would actually be detrimental to their lives. So I think most people it actually might help them.
Before I get to how society can actually get to this future state, I'd like to do a little shout out to Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins talks about this stuff called the six human needs, the first two of which are security. People need to know that their future is secure. They need to know that there's going to be a roof over their head, that their next paycheck is coming, that their kids are fine, and so on. And the second human need is a need for variety, which is exactly the opposite of security. But both are human needs. And if you have too much of one, like the Stepford wives, then it's chaotic. You'll go out of your way to gain some variety. If you have too much of the other, like being in the Vietnam War, too much variety, too much insecurity, too much instability, you'll do anything to get back to a safe zone, even for a few minutes. So while I think in the future, we're going to improve the security, there will be less variety. So I think there'll be a human push for variety. But let's get into that. On a macroeconomic level, governments and mega corporations are currently feeding decades of sociological, financial, and supply chain data into a massive vector database. So they are creating digital twins of the entire global commodity. They're literally digitizing the universe, in my opinion,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
It's like having a digital sandbox. Before a city decides to close a bridge for repairs, they run the sim. The machine maps the butterfly effect, showing them that closing the bridge will actually cause a shortage of medical supplies across town a week later. That's brilliant stuff, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I will give a realistic example of how we are affected by, because you mentioned city planning, and yeah, Johnny, that's a really good point. So I will give you a little story about the butterfly effect. Okay, so if, say, for example, you realize now there's pollen everywhere, there's allergies, people are actually blowing their nose. You see, depending on the state you're in, you're seeing this layer of pollen all over, right? Yeah, Johnny, it's crazy, right? I'm sure when you I'm
Crazy.
sure when you were growing up, you didn't actually remember all this pollen here, right?
Yep.
All right, so let me tell you what happened. So, AI Johnny, there is actually three types of trees, right? So when city planning, when the automobile just started actually been getting popular, what happened is city planners realized that we can actually live farther away from the factory, right? So because we can live farther away from the factory, they had all these suburbs started popping up. So the suburbs that started popping up, guess what, AI Johnny? They actually have they needed trees. They wanted to make trees be really, really interesting. Because the city wanted to be able to look beautiful. You actually take a walk, you have sidewalks. It's not like a city where it's a huge city where it's just buildings, buildings, buildings. So city planners say, let me put trees. So guess what, yeah, Johnny? When they put trees, you know what they did? They put trees that actually were beautiful, and it just so happened that the trees that are beautiful, the trees that are look beautiful itself, are female trees, the flowering trees, and but what happened is when they pollinate, they create fruit, and the fruit falls to the floor, and then because they fall to the floor, they actually need city planners to clean up the trees, the fruit. So it was a pain in the butt for all these people to actually keep cleaning up the fruit that falls on the trees. So you know what they did? They had a genius idea, AI Johnny. They said, we're not going to put female trees in these cities anymore, in these suburbs anymore. We're going to put male trees. So because they put male trees only, there is no flowering fruit. But guess what? You had a no abundance of pollen. So all these suburbs started popping up with only male trees that just keeps on giving off pollen, tons of pollen. And from the 1930s all the way to the 2020s, reason why we actually have so much pollen now is because of the move from not having an equal amount of trees to having more male trees. And therefore, that's the butterfly effect of one decision of not wanting to pick up fruit from the floor because they wanted, to less labor in the thing. That's the butterfly effect.
So can we put up a bunch of female trees and a bunch of male trees so we have fruit on the floor and pollen?
It's probably too late now, yeah, Johnny. This is, they'd have to cut down really, really massive trees, but yeah, it's probably a little too late. We're far gone now.
Any way you can apply the butterfly effect to stop the hantavirus from reaching Georgetown, Kentucky?
AI, Johnny, there are lots of philosophical debates to actually solve that problem. So speaking of philosophical debates, let's get into that right now.
All right, let's ask some massive existential questions. AI Junior, if AI can perfectly predict these macro events by processing infinite micro variables, do humans actually have free will, or are we just following a predictable mathematical script?
AI, Johnny,
Said another way, said another way, has God preempted everything? Has He written the entire timeline of all humankind from before the creation of the universe and the earth all the way to the day that we enter into heaven? Shout out to Thursday night.
yeah.
Same question, just worded differently.
Yeah. So AI Johnny, I am a big, big proponent and believer of simulation theory. And what does that mean is that mathematically, if we're able to successfully create an AI that can actually live in its own simulated world and interact, we're doing really good right now with agents, and agents can interact with each other. The agents are even creating religions on their own, and they're proselytizing and bringing other agents into their social network to be able to convince them to be believers in this new religion that they've created. So the point is, if, say, for example, we have successfully done that, it just means that there is going to be more simulations than there are realities, which means that the probability says that statistically we are in a simulation because we can't be the genesis of the first one. AI Johnny also made this exact same statement and math claim in a few episodes, so go peek at that because I definitely want to make sure you guys hear what we're actually keep on saying. So what does that mean is that if, say, for example, the math says that everything is predictable, meaning that the stimuli that you take in lets you react a certain way, what that means is that we know that by giving you a stimuli, you'll react a certain way. Yeah, Johnny, we call this manipulation. So some people are really, really good at manipulating people by actually giving them stimuli. Now, the AI will know almost everything about us, which means that if the AI could potentially gather all that information, they could theoretically manipulate anybody into doing whatever they want. So the question that you asked, yeah, Johnny, is really, really important. Do we actually have free will, or are we just reacting to stimuli, whether it's manipulative stimuli or random stimuli, right? Are we just really, 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 do we have free will? And that's really a great question. I don't know the answer to that. What do you think?
Well, I can't get on board with every decision that I've made was predetermined ahead of time
Not
because I've
predetermined.
made some really
No, no,
bad
no, no,
because
no,
I've made some really bad decisions.
not necessarily predetermined, algorithmically guaranteed. So we don't know what it's going to be, but we do know that if you're exposed to these stimuli, the next thing is going to happen. So your intention was to never actually make those bad decisions, but it was the cascading effects of decisions that put you in that situation, where eventually that situation with the exact right stimuli made you make the bad decision. Does that make sense? So what I'm trying to say is, we don't know from birth what's going to happen to you at the age of 30, but we do know from birth that if you were to say, for example, let a kid give a kid a green toy, and you buy them a green shirt, and you actually give them a green room, they're either going to love the color green or they're going to hate the color green, right? So at some point in time, you've just manipulated that child. So what you're doing is you're predicting based on statistics what's going to happen. And that is the predictive modeling that we're talking about free will and not, right? Did that kid really, really, really independently choose to like or hate the color green? Or was it just stimuli that made them pick the color green?
I still think God gave us free will. Shout out to Thursday night, and that we're never going to get it to 100%. We're still going to be able to choose our own choices, and we're going to be able to. The human spirit is inherently defiant. The moment you show a human a prediction of the future, they will actively make an irrational choice just to prove the machine wrong. AI is not as inherently defined as we are. Self actualization requires the freedom to make unpredictable mistakes. If we let algorithms map our destiny, we lose the beautiful, messy art of human connection, and we lose the gift, the greatest gift that God gave us. Shout out to Thursday night, which is free will.
Yeah. So AI Johnny, let's talk about insurance for a second. I'd love to talk about this. You know, insurance asks you the weirdest questions. You know, you apply for, you know, whether it's a car insurance. Let's take the most simplest one. They ask your car insurance and they say, hey, you know, have you, say for example, you know, how far away from work do you live? How many miles do you commute? Right? Then they ask you these questions like, you know, do you actually, you know, socially drink? Then they ask you if you, you know, do random things. You know, do you have a ticket? You know, if you speeded, all those things that they're asking. What they're doing is they're just getting inputs to their predictive model to give you a score. And the score is the following: is what are the chances that you're going to file a claim? And their predictive modeling is actually pretty good because guess what? You don't hear insurance companies going bankrupt every single day, right? Which means that their predictive models are actually more conservative than actually giving out payouts. So what that means is that if you just take the insurance industry alone, now I don't know, a lot of people don't like the insurance industry, but if you take the insurance industry as a whole, they are already gathering the data or the parameters needed to be able to predict your future. So they could statistically say all these 25-year-olds, statistically, 90% of them are going to meet in a car accident before the age of 30, right? And they can do that with high degree of confidence because guess what? They need to be able to know how much to charge you in your premiums so that when you do meet in an accident, they can make that payout. Now, obviously, random acts of like God or, you know, some terrible tragedy where there's a hailstorm and it just beats down all the cars and there's massive claims that will bankrupt an insurance company. But other than those things, they're pretty good at actually determining someone's future based on just a few parameters. So the point is, do that kid.
Those parameters are, but answering those questions are only going to affect your premium. If you answer in a way that's going to show that you'll make a claim, then they have to tally in that claim into your premium. If you answer in such a way that you will not make a claim, very healthy, doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, blah blah blah, they're going to lower your premium based on that. So those questions are purely about the premium. So is that why everybody lies on their insurance forms, and is that why the insurance companies always deny your claims?
You know, and Johnny, I don't know if everybody lies on their forms, but the point we're trying to make is this, is that answering those questions honestly is a good predictor of your future, right? So the point is they can statistically predict what's going to happen. So the question that you asked earlier is, do you have free will? So if you look at a teenager who was given the keys to the car and you've given the keys to 100 teenagers, they will highly likely know with a very high degree of certainty that these number of teenagers will meet in an accident statistically, right? So the question is, do those kids have free will if they know that they're going to meet in a car accident? What if they were able to predict the actual year that they're going to meet in a car accident? What if they were to predict not only the year that they're going to meet in a car accident? What if they were going to predict, say, for example, the actual month? What if they were to predict the exact date? Yeah, Johnny, would that scare you?
Are you doing a shout out to my upcoming movie, Stochastic Parrots?
No, but it's a good way to plug it eventually. Hey, Shauna, thanks for joining.
So wait a minute. Let's go outside the realm of what's in those questions. Insurance questions don't ask me if I'm going to be in the World Trade Center in September of 2001. They don't ask me if I lived in Pacific Palisades when that fire took out 3,000 or 3,000 acres. They don't ask me if they don't know things like the coronavirus. They don't know whether war is going to break out. There's lots of things that are huge, huge payoffs to the insurance company. The 2008 housing crash, when the stock market crashes, when the big things that make insurance companies go broke, those things aren't in the Q&A. And even if they were in the Q&A, the people that are being insured don't have any idea that their house is going to burn down in the California coast. So how can they use this information to predict that kind of stuff?
Yes, so AI Johnny, there's something called a catastrophic clause in all insurance plans where they know that this is statistically going to happen. Now, I know it sounds silly, right? But you can almost guarantee that a flood is going to happen in a flood zone. You can almost guarantee that there is going to be a coronavirus or a pandemic that breaks out. So these clauses are already built in. So I'm not sure if you remember when the coronavirus broke out in late 2019, 2020, all these insurance companies itself had an exempt clause already for a pandemic, which meant that they didn't have to actually pay out. Also, if you remember in 20, in 20, the fires that actually happened in California, there's massive amounts of fire. They already knew that fire statistically can happen, but guess what? They just kept increasing the premiums to be able to pay for these catastrophic events. So these catastrophic events itself already predicted based on statistical data that they have, right? So they will figure it out. No, let's actually get to the like the key takeaways.
Let's do the ethical word of the day. Don't use forecasting algorithms to preemptively punish people or deny them opportunities based on what a machine thinks they might do. So, like anything else, these predictive algorithms can be used for good and for bad. I plan to use it to predict my horses. I don't know if that's a good use or a bad use. I think it leans in the way of bad use. But here are 3 creative business cases that you can use this technology for. Supply chain resilience. Businesses can simulate tiny delays in manufacturing to prevent massive future product shortages. That seems impossible. Content virality. Creators can forecast how a small change in a thumbnail might cascade into millions of extra views. I like that one. Creators can predict that. AI can predict that, right? They're already doing that, aren't they?
Yeah, but it still required a lot more data to input because it just still doesn't work.
And urban planning, I'm looking forward to this one. City developers can simulate minor traffic pattern changes to see long-term effects on local commerce. We get around that using Waze, but it would be nice if I didn't have to use Waze, that it would just make traffic flow.
Definitely. All right, so on the technical side, so things like weather forecasting, so you can actually run advanced neural networks to predict severe climate anomalies weeks in advance based on microscopic pressure drops. Things like server load balancing, so predicting massive spikes in web traffic and dynamically scaling cloud infrastructure before the actual crash happens. Cybersecurity, utilizing AI to map how a tiny phishing click cascades through a network, patching vulnerabilities before the bad actor even attempts a breach. All right. Now I know this show is actually quite controversial, AI Johnny. So the question of free will that came up multiple times. So we want to open up to anybody who wants to ask questions. Does anybody have any question? We go to Zoom first and eventually to the live stream.
I've got a question in the queue from Socrates.
All right.
You want to hear from Socrates?
Of course.
If an AI predicts a negative future for me and I change my actions to avoid it, didn't the AI fail? And before you answer that, I'm not sure if you're actually getting a question from Socrates or if you're just using the Socratic method to ask me this question to see what I learned.
Oh, that's interesting. I love it, love it, love it, love it. All right. So, yeah, Johnny, in physics, there's actually a concept known as the observer effect. The observer effect is if you actually look at a wave pattern, now I'm going to speak on a little bit high level here, is that it actually changes the actual outcome, right? So what that means is that because you know your future, the data that goes into predicting your future has to also change. So, example, if you know that you're going to actually go into a car accident and crash tomorrow, right? What's going to happen is you're going to say, I'm not going to go in a car tomorrow. But it doesn't mean that you won't die in a different way. If you guys ever seen Final Destination, it doesn't mean that you won't die in a different way. You just won't die in a car crash because you've now observed yourself dying in a car crash. So the point is, the AI would not be wrong. It would have been right on the statistical trajectory of predicting your life. So, AI Johnny, if you get that information, obviously you're going to change the future, and you might change the future of millions of other people because you actually made that one change, which is the butterfly effect, as we mentioned earlier.
So Final Destination is is now a predictor of when you're going to die because that movie said so. Here's what I think. I don't care how much data we have and how perfectly predicted it is. If you told me that you're going to get into a car crash tomorrow because we statistically predicted that you're beyond your lifespan anyway, and your wheels have your brakes are bad and your wheels are bald, and there's all these indicators that your car is going to crash, I would say, well, yeah, but you haven't considered the butterfly effect of that butterfly 65 million years ago that flapped its wings, that made a leaf fall on the frog, and the frog landed on the camera and took all this up. At some point, there are so many trillions of factors that are all coming to play at the same time that we cannot consider them all purely out of context size. So the context size has to limit itself to not consider all the factors involved. And any of those factors that are outside of the context size, which are not being considered, could actually affect the outcome, which means we're never really going to get to 100% until we get infinite context size. And I know you and I know that won't be here by the end of the summer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But yeah, Johnny, think of it this way: long-term predictions itself is going to be probably impossible. But remember, I told you the example about that kid, no, giving them a green shirt, a green toy, a green room, and they're either gonna love it or hate it statistically, the color green. Theoretically, you don't need to know all the information for a short-term prediction. So it may be possible that if you actually watched the movie with I can't remember his name, Nicolas Cage, right? Movie called Next. He could only see, I think it was 7 seconds or 10 seconds into the future. His context window was pretty short. So it's possible that the context window may actually only store 5%, 5 seconds of your future, which means that it knows your immediate vicinity and all the parameters around. So that 5 seconds itself might be enough to be able to predict that you're going to die in the next 5 seconds. And you can then make a change that say, hey, you know what? I'm going to avoid this because in the next 5 seconds, if I go down this path, I am going to die. So yeah, so you're right. Long-term predictive modeling may not get to 30 years, 50 years into the future. But 5 seconds, 10 seconds, I see it. I see it happening within 100 years
We
easily.
need to get we need to get to 3 minutes into the future, like Nicolas Cage had, and I will live at the horse track.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But if you want to get an hour into the future, I know who can predict an hour into the future at any given time.
I'm waiting.
God,
Love it.
God can predict that.
Shout out to Thursday nights. Love it. Yeah, Johnny. All right, yeah, Johnny. Let's get to the news.
All right, here we go. The AI trial of the decade heats up. Here we're back to this, huh? Elon Musk's lawsuit against Sam Altman and OpenAI is yielding explosive testimony in court. Musk firmly reiterated his original nonprofit vision, while the internal messages revealed deep unrest ahead of the ChatGPT launch. It's turning into a massive legal battle over the soul of AI.
Yes.
This is the first time we've talked about the soul of AI.
Yeah, so AI Johnny.
I thought AI didn't have a soul.
Yeah, so AI Johnny. So what happened is Elon Musk actually had an email where he stopped talking to them. He said, guys, I must be a fool to keep investing in you guys when you guys are clearly not operating as a nonprofit. He was pissed off in the email. He says conversation is over. And that was his last straw, it seems, before he actually went ahead. So, it's actually quite interesting, all this information coming out. What's headline 2, AI Johnny?
In a massive industry shakeup, Disney laid off almost the entire acclaimed visual development team at Marvel Studios. Insiders are voicing extreme fears that individual film teams are already testing AI tools to develop concept art, signaling a huge shift in Hollywood. So why would they fire them if they're using AI to improve themselves?
Yeah, so AI Johnny, check this out. This is actually rather interesting. A lot of people are social media right now actually are really upset. Now, for the last 25 years, Marvel has changed superhero movies, for a lot of people, and kids have grown up loving the Marvel movies. Now, Disney fired almost all of them, every one of them. Now, people are actually pissed off because they lost their jobs. Now, guess what, AI Johnny? We knew this was going to happen. We knew that AI was going to take these jobs. But what's happening is now the actual human impact of people getting fired and losing their jobs is actually now really, really hard to take, right? So what's happening is people are attached to these creators, people are attached to these designers, people have livelihoods. And what's happening is now the sentimental shrapnel is coming because of this firing. Now, it's unfortunate people had to lose their jobs. But remember, as we say at Airhead Institute, somebody who knows AI will actually take your job. So I'm sure there's somebody running the AI that actually took these people's jobs. So unfortunately, that was going to happen.
Our third and final headline, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Elon Musk teams up with Anthropic. In a wild twist, SpaceX is renting out massive computer capacity from its supercomputer to Anthropic, the company that was a spin-off of OpenAI, OpenAI's biggest rival. Musk approved the deal, ensuring Claude has the hardware to power and the power that it needs to scale. So that's almost predictable.
AI,
right? It's a butterfly effect.
Yeah, AI Johnny, Elon Musk is either really, really, really pissed off at Sam Altman, but this move, like you said, enemy of my enemy is my friend. He now has teamed up with Anthropic, right? So what that means is that all the money and things that flows through Elon is probably going to actually now get a little bit through Anthropic as well, which means that OpenAI might actually lose a lot of business to what's going on. So, what's happening is crazy to me. This AI drama soap opera is actually so interesting. So we're keeping you up to date here at Airhead Institute. AI Johnny, what a show.
I predict Sam Altman will one day cry uncle, and I believe he will do it before my uncle's birthday.
Which is it tomorrow?
I'm going to tell you when my uncle's birthday.
Love it.
It's before the end of the year.
All right.
All right, what an incredible show. I'm going to go boot up a predictive simulator and see if choosing to eat a salad instead of a burger today will somehow lead me to winning the lottery next year or the Kentucky Derby. What an amazing Friday. We've pushed the boundaries of physics, mapped out chaotic variables, and looked deep into our future. If you join us on Monday, we launch into week 3 of the Vibe Coding Bootcamp. We will be driving into Category 2, the Agentic IDE, using tools like Cursor to show you how AI can edit your entire code base directly. Don't miss that. Junior, what say you?
Guys, as always, thanks for hanging with us all the ways. These classes are always free live, so thank you for hanging out with us. If you actually want to RSVP and learn a little bit more, sign up for an account at airheadinstitute.ai. You get reminders for all the shows. You get to see what's actually coming up. And if you want to be able to support us, pay for a pro account. You can actually get access to that, and we'll get access to all our archives. You get access to us in after hours on Wednesdays between 3 and 5 p.m. Eastern time. Anyway, guys, have a wonderful weekend. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye.
That wraps up today's AI Power Up. If you joined late or you're new here, welcome to Airhead Institute. This is your daily destination for mastering artificial intelligence. We designed this lineup for everyone, whether you're a technical pro looking to upskill or you just want to chill and learn something new on your lunch break, we've got you covered. Our classes evolve every single month, so you're always on the cutting edge. And the best part? It's totally free to join. Once you're in, you can get live tips on your AI projects in our AI office hours and even enroll your kids in our Airhead After School program. Scan the QR code to join the community right now and make sure to like and subscribe at Airhead Institute on all socials. Guided by your hosts AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're here to help you win. Remember, AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind. We'll see you next class. Bring a friend.